Now, interesting, because sometimes in our plans for tourism development in the Caribbean and so on, that word sustainability doesn't always come into play. Because of course we want to make money and we want to make it quick and so on. And so therefore, for example, when we are building hotels, when we are building marinas and piers and so on, do we take into consideration that we might just be possibly destroying coral reefs?
Yes.
For example, and there you go with the whole biodiversity of marine life and all of that sort of thing. But at the very same time, we depend on coral reefs in tourism because tourists want to go diving to the reefs and so on. So what plans do we have in St. Kitts and Nevis to ensure that our tourism remains sustainable?
Well, basically what we're doing is to ensure that it remains sustainable. And I don't want people to think that sustainable means that you do not take out sometimes, have to, some of the environment. But it's finding that balance,
yes,
because you also have social issues that you have to address. And if you're going to be looking at creating jobs and benefiting the people, sometimes you have to make certain sacrifices, but
yes,
it must be done in a measured way.
Okay.
How are you going to do this without destroying, for example, a whole ecosystem? Or how do we get our people to start thinking that you might have done this thing this way traditionally, but here's an alternative way of doing it. And so what we are doing is we've created a group within the Ministry of Tourism, and not really within, from the Ministry of Tourism. We call it the Interagency Sustainable Destination Management Council. And the reason it's not called a Sustainable Tourism Council, because we recognize sustainable tourism is not what we want. We want to manage our destination in a sustainable way, so that when our local residents benefit, visitors can also benefit. So we have a grouping of persons from different agencies, both public sector, private sector, and NGOs, and we work together and provide advice to the Ministry of Tourism on the issues such as the issue you raised. For example, in some areas, a Ministry of Tourism representative is not present, but we have somebody from another agency who sits on that board, or who is a part of that group, who have received the training in sustainable tourism management, who understand the issues that we're dealing with. They act as our champions in those other areas. So we have found a strategic way of dealing with the issues. The Ministry of Tourism is small. We can't be everywhere, but we can be everywhere at the same time by providing the awareness that Novelist speaks of, being involved with the community, as Charlene spoke of, getting people to understand that what we have now, we want to preserve it for future generations. And the only way we can do that is by taking action now.
Yes.
Right? And doing it right the first time. So we don't have to pay later on to correct the mistakes we would have made.
Right.
Yes.
Now, Miss Welcome spoke about something that may seem very simple, but yet it is sustainable tourism at work, and that is keeping our communities clean. That is a sustainable tourism practice.
Exactly.
Now, could you highlight for me some projects that the Ministry of Tourism has to promote sustainable tourism?
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the things we did was to have training for persons in sustainable tourism. So we've had a wide cross-section of persons being trained, including our colleagues from Nevis, in sustainable tourism, because we want everybody to understand the issues involved in sustainable tourism. We've also done training for persons in the public and private sector on sustainable tourism communication. How do we communicate that story? Because it's very well for us to do things, But if nobody knows what we are doing, it's like the tree falling in the forest and nobody is there. Exactly. Right? So we've looked at sustainable tourism communication. How do we market what we've done? For example, for many years, the Central Forest Range in St. Kitts is a protected area. But how many persons equate that with sustainable tourism? The fact that we are protecting the Central Forest Range, where our watershed is, helps us to have water, so that, and as the people in water say, water is life.
That's
so
right.
That we're doing something, but not many people know that, and especially the fact that that is 1/3 of our land mass that has been declared a public a protected area.
Yes.
The Department of Marine Resources is working on the Narrows marine managed area, protecting that area as well. That's going to be in our favor as well, because we are ensuring that we do not destroy our fish life, our sea life, which we need in tourism. People want to dive, but we also want food.
That's right.
Right? So if we protect it, we give the fish a chance to repopulate the area, and naturally they're not going to stay, fish don't stay within a pen. They're going to move out into the other areas which are not protected. But in the meantime, the hatchlings get the opportunity within the protected area to grow to the sizes that would make more sense before people are catching them. We've also had we've just recently launched a new project which is called the Heart of St. Kitts. And you might ask, why Heart of St. Kitts? But if you tie it with our brand, and Novlet spoke of brand as being one of the questions the children have to respond to. Our brand is to follow your heart.
Yes.
It's all about the heart. And when you talk about heart, you talk about feelings, you talk about the experience. It's all experiential. We have just launched the Heart of St. Kitts, which is comprised of 2 areas. 1 is a sustainability charter, and 2 is a foundation. Now the sustainability charter is just a tool for tourism enterprises, and we're hoping we extend beyond this first phase where we're using tourism enterprises to all enterprises, because we're talking about destination management. But for the first phase, we're working with tourism enterprises, where we are encouraging them to tell the story of what they're doing to ensure the sustainability of their businesses, and where they haven't started yet, to encourage them to start some sustainability practices. And number one thing that came up when we did the survey was waste management. We have a waste management issue in St. Kitts. So we are encouraging businesses to look at issues such as waste management. We actually have 3 broad themes: natural resource management,
Yes.
community participation, because we believe our communities must be involved in whatever we are doing for tourism, and thirdly, operational management. Now, under these 3 broad themes, we have sub-themes. Businesses are being encouraged to select at least 2 that they can manage, whether it is just turning off lights for energy conservation when you're not in a room, or for example at a hotel. We went to a hotel late last year, and they did not see that they were involved in sustainable tourism, and we were able to show them so many things that they were doing which counts to sustainable tourism. 1, they line dry their towels. So rather than using a dryer, they put them on the line and use the natural source for drying their linens. They reuse old sheets, for example, to make other things that they need around the property. It has a little tear in it. How about we cut it and we make it into pillowcases using a local seamstress? So rather than importing pillowcases, right? For example, a new sheet might have gotten a little tear. You need new pillowcases. You can use the portion of the sheet that is still new, get a local seamstress who now benefits from getting this job to use that to make pillowcases. All of that is part of sustainable tourism. All of these things count towards the sustainability charter. But at the heart of the sustainability charter as well is the sustainability foundation. And every business that signs on to our charter is asked to make a contribution, whether a direct contribution annually to the foundation, or they can encourage their customers to contribute to the foundation. Now, people might wonder, what are they collecting the money for? The money is being collected to fund tourism-related projects. And to start, because we recognize when we're starting, it's not going to generate a lot of income because we have a sort of wait and see type of society. What we are doing is for the first year or two, the funds collected will go towards the Rails to Trails project that Shalene talked about, a waste management project, and not that we are actually going to do it, because sustainable tourism is about all of us being involved. So if there's a community or a business that's already doing a waste management project and we can provide additional support, we'll do that. And the other one is about beach cleanups, because we have 4 objectives with this foundation. One is the coastal and marine conservation, new tourism projects, heritage protection, and the third one is the new, sorry, I said new tourism projects.
Yes.
Heritage protection, coastal management, and waste management. Those are the 4 objectives of the foundation. Now, what we are hoping to do after the first 2 years, or in the middle of the second year, we would be encouraging community groups to write in, because we will be giving grants. That's what the foundation is. It's not for the Ministry of Tourism. Okay. It's for our community. So you write in with your projects. Once they meet any combination of the 4 objectives, then we'll be able to give persons funds. It might not be a lot of funds, large amounts, but what we're saying is that a community group goes into a bank, they have nothing, but they have an idea. They might not get the support they want, but we might be able to give them, for example, a $5,000, which they could leverage at that same bank for the full amount of funds that they need to develop their project. And so that is what we're doing with this. And I would like to point out that this fund, this foundation, came about because it was discovered when St. Kitts and Nevis was assessed by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council that we are not capitalizing on the visitors who come to our destination. Travel philanthropy is not being realized. We are not encouraging visitors to give back, and very often visitors want to give back to the destination, but there is no mechanism in place for them to give back. As a matter of fact, I recently heard of someone who had gone to another destination, was so impressed by what they saw at that destination. Yes. They wanted to give $10,000, but no mechanism was in place. We do not want to be like that in St. Kitts, and so we have created the mechanism that these persons can contribute to our destination, and the funds can be channeled into projects for communities where our community persons will benefit.
Right. Now, you spoke a lot about, of course, sustainability and the importance of having a tourism industry that is sustainable. Now, let me ask you, what are some unsustainable practices that you would discourage?
One of the things, definitely, and I mentioned it earlier, is the waste. The indiscriminate dumping of waste, and we see it when we go to the beaches. It is especially in your face after a public holiday, and our locals go to the beach and all of the waste is left there. We get the calls at Ministry of Tourism. I sometimes believe we get more calls than solid waste. People call you, the square is dirty, there's a cruise ship in. What are you all doing?
Are there waste containers though to collect at these
There
beaches?
are waste, not at the beaches as yet, but that is one of the things we are working at the Ministry of Tourism, is to create an area. But besides having a container, what people need to understand, you brought it. You take it back. Right? You
it is to have that
mentality, right? The water, indiscriminate water use, the wastage of water. We just had a meeting of our IASDMC group, and what we are going to be focusing on this year is water conservation. And contrary to what many people think, because rain has been falling for the last few days, the water system, the catchment system, has not been recharged.
Yes.
So you cannot go about watering your cars with your hoses again, because you see rain has started falling. We're in such a bad deficit that it is going to take time for the aquifer to be refilled. So those are some of the things we want people to be mindful of. The energy, the wastage of energy, our marine life, the turtles. People are building bars along the strip. we all talk about wanting to have lights. On the strip, everybody's concerned about safety and security, so you want the brightest light.
Right.
But the poor turtle who is coming up to lay becomes disoriented by that bright light, and so they're thrown off, and it takes out of the turtles that are laid, out of the eggs that are laid, sometimes they lay thousands of eggs and only one baby turtle survives. But if we are mindful of things like that and have the appropriate lighting, we're not saying not to have lights, because we recognize the importance of security, but be mindful that we are coexisting with other creatures and other people. And if we bear that in mind, then we will not waste some of the things, and our practices will not affect us. Because I believe sometimes, for example, in the water example, it is our practices over the years in St. Kitts where we thought that water was a never-ending source. True. And for which we are now paying dearly, right? That is why I think that is a perfect example of the sustainability issue. It's not only the water, but using the water as an example, be careful of how you think. Conserve, because you don't know what is happening a few years down the road. What you're using indiscriminately now, you probably need later on. So use things with moderation, and where possible, use less, or find alternate things that can be used.
Now, Ms. Morton spoke about something quite interesting. It's one of the topics for the 2016 Tourism Youth Congress, and it is the customer's perception of the brand. And she gave a quote from a Scott Cook, who is the co-founder of Intuit, who said, a brand is no longer what we tell consumers, it is what consumers tell each other it is. And while you were speaking about sustainable tourism, I think one of the most important things in ensuring that our tourism remains sustainable is that of customer service. Because people will talk, they will go back to North America and to Europe or to Asia or wherever they are from, and that is what they will remember. So my question to you is, what is the Ministry of Tourism doing to improve customer service, or to impress upon those who are working in the tourism industry the importance of good customer service?
Okay. One of the things that Novelist spoke about, that's the root of it, the tourism education. But for those who are already in the industry, the ministry and the tourism authority are going to be having training sessions for persons on customer service, and that will be done during our off-peak season. And I don't even want to say, people have been saying the slow season. We don't really have a slow season anymore, not as in years gone by, so we call it the off-peak season. We are going to use that opportunity to provide training for everybody who is involved in the tourism industry. People don't remember sometimes what you do, but they remember the way you make them feel.
Yes.
Right? I've heard people talk about staying in hotels. The hotel was not the best hotel in terms of the physical infrastructure, but the staff was so warm and welcoming that they forgot all about that. It's that feeling that that person gave them the service, they went the extra mile. That is what makes the difference in a person's vacation. So all of that is tied to the sustainability, because the service goes along with all the other physical attributes. If we don't tie those things together, it would be like a loss for all the hard work that has been put in.